Hello, guys, and welcome back to the podcast. This is my very first episode for 2024. And I'll be honest with you, I planned on recording this back in 2023, but it just didn't feel right to be recording New Year content in the old year. So I held off, and I'm so glad I did because I feel like the first week of January is such a wonderful week to really shift your energy and your perspective and I don't know, just approach your business with that new 2024 year energy, which I love. And for anyone who's maybe not had the best start to the new year, that's okay. That doesn't mean anything about how your year is going to go. It doesn't matter if you're maybe not having the strongest start. It's you have so many months to make a change. So I just want to say that because I think there's also often a lot of pressure over the new year that everything has to be perfect, because if the first few days of the year don't go perfectly, it's a sign that the rest of the year isn't going to go great either. And that's simply not true at all. And so, for anyone who's feeling like that, just shift your perspective. Just a few bad days doesn't mean you're going to have a bad year. This is going to be a wonderful year, I think, for a lot of our listeners. And you get to choose how you're going to make this year, how you're going to approach this year. And so, what I really want to talk about today, because it's new year, new me, all this stuff, and I don't personally get all caught up in the new year, new me, but I am very much a growth oriented person. So, what I am looking at in the new year is, well, number one, I'll look at my goals for my business. But here's where a lot of people get caught up is they spend all their time in their goals, writing out those goals, writing lists, and then that's it. And a year from today, they wonder why they didn't hit those goals. And so I want you to remember, if you take only one thing away from this episode, I really want you to remember that your goals are not the most important thing for you to be setting at this time of year. Shocker, I know. But your goals actually don't hold that much value, because it's so easy to be like, oh, this year I want to make $100,000, or this year I want to make $500,000. Like, you can pull numbers out so easily and just like be like, this is my goal, this is my goal. And really, there's no meaning behind that if there's not a strategy to kind of back that up. And there's also no meaning behind that if those goals feel completely unrealistic to you and your body knows you're just lying, you're just making stuff up. And so there's so many things that come into play. So I'm going to be talking about why the key to success in your jewelry business in 2024 is not focusing on your goals, but focusing on the systems behind the scenes, and focusing on the habits and focusing on the daily tasks that you're doing and the strategy. That's where you need to focus your energy and time at this time of the year, not heavily on your goals. Now, when it comes to setting your goals, you do need to set goals. It probably takes you 5 to 15 minutes to do this. It's really not a big task. It's really pretty straightforward. And one piece of advice I have for you is, you don't just want to say, oh, like hit 10K months consistently if you're already hitting 10K months consistently, because that's not a goal. That's just a checklist. That's like, okay, well, I'm already doing that. Let's just keep doing that. That's not really what we want to do. We do want to push you outside of your comfort zone. You do want to feel a little bit scared of your goals. You don't want to feel so scared that it feels completely unrealistic. So for everyone, it's going to look different. But look at your goals that you have right now. And this can be financial goals. This can be the size of your community. This can be how you feel in showing up in your business. This can be, how many events you're doing. This can be how many stores you're selling in. There's a lot of different things you can take into account. But really, the financial one should be the main one, if we're being honest here. Because the financial one is going to impact your energy. It's going to impact how you show up. It's going to impact how many holidays you can take. It's going to impact if you're able to really embrace slow living as you're building your business. So looking at those financial goals, being like, okay, here's what I want to do. Here's the number I want to make. This feels a little uncomfortable, I'm not going to lie. But I think with the right strategies in place, like I feel confident it's a healthy push and you want that healthy push. You need that healthy push. And then you're going to break those goals down into, okay, well, what does this actually look like quarterly and monthly and weekly? And then what we really need to focus all our time and energy on, and this can take a few hours, when I do these strategy calls with my clients, it can take a few hours because you have to dive into the nitty gritty of like, well, what does this look like? If you're saying, for example, we'll keep the numbers simple. I want to hit 100,000 in my business this year, and 40,000 is coming from wholesale. 60,000 is from online, or maybe 40,000 from wholesale, 40,000 from online, 20,000 from events. Like, what does that look like? And like, how many events do you have to do that? How many stores do you need to sell $5,000 worth of products to do that? How many online orders do you need? And how can we up the average online orders so you need less orders? And then based on the number of online orders, do we already have those people in your community? Do we need to drive more visibility? What does that look like? How are we going to do that? Are we going to do collaborations? There's so many different things that you need to then break down and be like, okay, if that's the number, that's one thing. But now what do we need to do to make that happen? What does that actually look like? When we say 40,000 in online sales or whatever your number is, how many sales is that monthly? How many customers do we need to make that happen? What's the average order value? How can we increase that order value? And how can we keep recurring customers coming back again and again and again, if that makes sense for our business? And so you want to take some time to really dive into this. This is the very important part of looking at your goals, breaking them down. Number one, it's going to make them feel so much more realistic when you actually break them down in that way. Number two, you're actually able to see like, okay, well, if I have this big financial goal of whatever it is, 100,000, 500,000, here's what that actually looks like in terms of making this a reality. Now, if I want to make this a reality, what do I need to do on a daily and weekly and monthly and quarterly basis to actually move my business closer to my goals? Now, you can never guarantee that you're going to hit those goals in that time frame. And I see this with my clients. We set big goals. I've had clients hit them 3 months earlier, and by the end of the year, they've actually created new goals, stretch goals, and they've hit those as well. And then I've had others where, hey, that goal, they didn't quite hit it, but they got very close. And a few months later, they were able to actually hit that because they had the right systems in place and they were doing the right tasks. But there's always that buffer. You cannot guarantee anything in business, which is kind of what makes it so fun. Not gonna lie, I kind of love that about it. So you want to look at like, well, what is required to do this? If you're looking at your event sales of like, okay, well, I want to make 60,000 even from events, depending on where you're at in business. The more established you are, the less event sales you want, because let's be honest, it's so much time and energy and effort. You want to scale back, but we need to make sure we have the email list in place. We need to make sure we have the online community in place. We need to make sure we have the website traffic. We have to make sure the website is optimized to drive conversions. There's so many different things we need to be looking at. So if your business is in the early stages, you're going to have multiple streams of revenue, or at least that's what you ultimately do want in the early stages. You want event sales, you want online sales, you want wholesale sales, you want like stores and consignments and stuff like that. And then down the line, when you're established, well, let's be honest, most people want online sales. That's the goal. You want to transition to like 80% online sales, and it just takes time to get there. It takes time to build your community. It takes time to build that know, like, trust factor. It takes time to build your email list. So you have to say like, okay, here's my goals. Here's the different revenue streams, the goals for each revenue stream that we're looking at. So based on this, how many stores do I need to reach out to on a weekly basis to make this happen? How many like collabs am I going to do to increase visibility? How many events am I going to do to drive sales? And then how am I going to get those to drive online sales post event? we have to look at the systems and the strategies and the actual tasks that you're doing on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to make that happen and to make that a reality. And that's the step that so many people skip. It's very interesting to me, because what happens is they write their goals. They're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. They super pumped. They super excited. And then they pull out their notebook and start writing lists and lists and lists and lists. And they organize and they plan and they go shopping for new designs and new components, because that's super fun. And they are busy, 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 busy. Now, you do not need to be busy to be successful as a jewelry business owner. Keep this in mind. This is really important. You don't need to be busy. You just have to do what's required. And it is so easy. I think the jewelry industry is one of the easiest industries to get distracted, because let's face it, most of you are in this because you love jewelry, you love design, you love creating, you love making these beautiful things. You like making things pretty, and pretty things are fun to buy. They're fun to shop for. It's fun to organize your studio a million times over. It's fun to just do photo shoots all the time. We want to make sure that we're actually doing what's required. We actually need to do the boring work. And I hope nobody's upset that I said this, but you do need to do the boring work until you can build a team who can do the boring work for you. It's just required in your first few years of business. And the boring work actually becomes really fun when you see results from it. So things like showing up on Instagram and actually posting content that is hitting the different buyer types, and doing that consistently, not being like, oh, I posted for 20 days and didn't see results. Well, nobody's going to post for 20 days and see results if they haven't built that trust with their community. So depending on where you're at, going all in on being committed to doing what's required for your business is so important. So looking at things like social media, like, okay, well, if I'm wanting to drive this much in online sales, how do I do that? What does this look like for me and my business? How many posts am I going to do? How many reels? How am I going to frame that content so that when my ideal customer sees it, number one, it stops the scroll. Number two, they actually take in what I'm saying. They feel seen, they feel excited, and they want to buy into that feeling. And then how does my other content guide them to actually go take that action, go to my website, pull out their credit card, make a purchase? And then what strategies do I have in place to drive recurring sales from that and get those testimonials and, build that community? What's the strategy behind that? Those are the little nitty gritty things that you need to have in place, that you need to make sure are getting done on a daily basis. Otherwise, a year from now, you'll be looking at your goals, which maybe you don't even remember where you wrote them down, but you'll be like, I had these good plans and I tried my best and I didn't get there because the industry is saturated, which is not true. There's a lot of jewelry businesses in the jewelry industry, but a vast majority are not doing what's required. So it actually doesn't take that much to stand out above the crowd, above the noise. It doesn't require you to be the absolute best to thrive. It just requires you to know what to do to make people feel seen in your content. It requires you understanding the strategy behind, building that community and driving sales and introducing multiple streams of revenue. It just requires you to do what's required consistently and over time consistently as well. One of the things I always say is when people are frustrated that they're not getting the results that they think they should be getting in business, ultimately it only comes down to 3 reasons why they may not be getting those results. And so, if you're even feeling frustrated, maybe you think in 2023 you should have done better, or you expected better results, and now you're blaming the economy or you're blaming the industry for being saturated. There's actually only 3 reasons that typically a business doesn't hit the results that they're expecting. The first reason is that they're actually not doing what's required. So, you can show up, you can be busy, you can post and check that off the list and send emails and do all that. But if you're not framing it in a way that is strategic and intentional, it's kind of meaningless. You're just keeping yourself busy, you're giving yourself a job, but you're not doing what's required in terms of strategy to actually get you those results. So it would be unrealistic to expect different results. The second reason why a lot of business owners don't see the results they're expecting is they are doing what's required and they're doing it well, but they haven't given it enough time. And most people kind of quit just before things get good, just before the results kind of kick in. And this is where I see people like they'll find stuff on YouTube and TikTok and this, and they'll see what their competitors are doing, and they'll be like, I'm going to do this because it's working for them. And then just before it kind of starts working, they hop onto another trend, and they kind of the strategy hoppers. I like to call them the yo-yo dieters of the business world, because that's what they're doing. They're hopping on the next best thing as soon as they see it, and they're not giving the right strategy the chance to actually get them results, because all strategies require consistency over time. And that time, like if somebody's like, okay, but what's the exact amount of time? There is no exact amount of time. It varies based on how much time you are putting into your business every day. Somebody who puts 8 hours into their business a day versus someone who puts 30 minutes into their business a day is going to see results at a different pace, as long as they're being really productive with that time. Somebody who has a email list of 10,000 people versus someone with an email list of 50 is going to see results at a different pace. Someone whose community of Instagram followers is super engaged, even if it's a lower number, is going to see results faster than somebody with a lower engaged community, even if they have more followers. So there's so many things that come into play, but most people kind of quit just before they actually start seeing results and they hop on a new strategy. So let's leave strategy hopping behind in 2023. Now, the third reason why people don't see the results they're expecting is they are doing what's required, they're doing it well, and they're doing it consistently. Well, they haven't they've been doing it consistently over time, but then they kind of drop off when they start seeing results. And so that consistency isn't long term, if that makes sense. And some of you may be recognizing yourselves in this, because this is pretty common. As soon as we start getting those dopamine hits of, oh, okay, this is working, we stop doing what's required. And we think, okay, I've made it now. And so they start seeing results, and then they drop down and they wonder what's happening here. You have to be really consistent with that, even when you start seeing the results. And I know it sounds so obvious, but so many people don't do this. They kind of they get excited, they get happy, and then they kind of drop back down, and then they have to keep rebuilding that momentum all the time. So you don't want to do that. You just want to be really consistent. And this is where, number one, getting clear on where it is you want to be 1 year from today. And then number two, getting clear on what systems do you need in place? What strategies do you need in place? And what does that look like? What are those tasks you need to do on a daily basis in your business to actually make that happen, to actually move your business to that place? And what does that look like for you and for your time and for your energy? Super important to get clear on that. So, what's so funny is I had a plan for this episode and I went completely off track because I got excited. But I want to remind you that just coming up with new goals for 2024 isn't just going to give you new results that you didn't get in 2023. Those goals are not going to deliver results on their own. You have to change what it is that you're doing daily. You have to change your habits. You have to change the tasks that you're doing in your business daily. You have to look at the systems that you're implementing and refine those. Those are the things, the boring things, if I'm honest with you. Those boring things are the things that are going to impact if you're going to move your business closer to your goals over the next year. So I hope this helps anybody. We really don't want anyone falling for that goal to strategy and system disconnect this year. I really want you to set yourself and your business up for success by just taking 3 hours to really get clear on what this looks like for your business and making sure it's highly visible, making sure that you have not just even come up with those systems and those tasks, but how are you going to integrate that into your day so it's something that you do not miss? Do you need accountability? Do you need accountability buddies? Do you need a community? Do you need support? Where's the block to actually making that happen? And I think if you can take some time even to identify, where do you think your blocks are going to be over the next year in showing up consistently and doing what's required? Take some time to journal about that. Be like, if I'm looking over the past year, where were my blocks in 2023 and what do I think my blocks are going to be in 2024? Because if we can start pre-identifying those, then we can fix them before they happen, which is great. So I really want to encourage you to do that. Take a few minutes to get clear on that. And just remember, your strategy. Some people get overwhelmed when they hear strategy because they're like, it sounds so complex. I mean, it's just a plan of action. It's a plan of action. And your systems in your business are the principles or procedures in which things are done. It's a very organized framework and method. And if you're thinking, well, this makes me feel boxed in as a creative, as a designer, it's so interesting because what I've seen with my clients who are true artists and creatives, when they have this structure in place, they come to me and they're like, wow, now I see why we do this, because I'm able to relax into my business again. I'm able to have fun in my business again. I feel my creative spark and my energy coming back. And I can see how the structure and the strategies and the systems, which felt so boring and so restrictive at some stages in my business building journey, I can see how those are allowing me to soften into my business. I can see how they're allowing me to soften into my creativity as an artist. And I can see how they're going to help me share my jewelry with the world and share my passion with the world, which is something that is so important for us to go all in and really embrace. So, take some time to do that. Take some time to look at your goals, 5 minutes, 15 minutes to look at your goals for the year, and then look at the systems that you need. Look at the daily tasks you need to be doing. Make sure that you've really gone down to the nitty gritty of what does this look like when I sit down to work on my business on a Monday morning and I have 2 hours? What do I need to do during that time? And make sure that you have a plan so that you don't have to do thinking when you sit down to work on your business. The last thing that we want is every time that you sit down to be like, okay, I'm going to make a plan, I'm going to write some lists, and I'm going to do some organizing. No, we want you sitting down, doing what's required, and then going off and living your life and having fun. And we don't want a year of writing lists and planning and thinking. And trust me, I've been there. I know what it's like, and I know how easy it is to feel productive when you're doing that, and how frustrating it is when you don't see results when you're doing that either. So, but one other thing I did want to mention is, what was I going to mention? This is so funny. You can tell I've had a few days off, and I've also lost my voice a little bit because I was actually sick over New Year's. But oh yeah, so one of the new things I think I touched on in another episode that we've introduced into the Jewelry Business Academy, which honestly I am so pumped for, is the 90-day jewelry business blueprint. So literally in 90 days with 3 hours, you just need 3 hours a day to work on your business. We are going to, if you're a new jewelry business owner, we are going to get your business foundation set up in a really solid way, in a way that really aligns with your why, a way that aligns with your time and energy levels, a way that makes you feel like you are building a business that is actually truly fulfilling your purpose. We're going to do that, and we're going to get you your first few sales in those 90 days if you're a brand new business. And if you're an existing business, we also just need those 3 hours a day, and we are going to kind of hit the ground running with your business. You will get results in the first 90 days. And not only that, you're going to be working way more effectively, probably less hours than you are currently. And you're going to be doing what's required, and you're going to know exactly how to show up in your business, how to write those emails, how to create that content that's actually going to drive conversions and drive sales and drive engagement and build your community. And we're going to kind of work, handhold and walk you through that process and take you step by step through that journey with our 90-day jewelry business blueprint. And once you've gone through that, we are going to take you through an accelerator to really, really build that momentum once we've got those foundations in place, and accelerate the growth even faster. So if you really want to hit the ground running this year, if you are ready for support, if you want to be part of one of the most incredible communities of jewelry business owners there is out there, honestly, I'm blown away by our community on a daily basis. They show up for themselves, they show up for their business. They are so connected with one another and so helpful in supporting one another through different seasons of business. And if you want my eyes and my perspective on your business literally every single week, if you want my support and feedback on the things going on in your business, if you want me to help identify the biggest levers that we can pull to have the biggest game-changing shifts in your business this year, then the Jewelry Business Academy is the place for you. You can head to jewelrybusinessacademy.ca to learn more. And I'll be honest with you, if you're listening to this and you're not too sure if you should book a call, I want to ask you this. How would it feel for you to double your sales this year? How would it feel for you to triple your sales this year? Because we have the framework to help you do that. We have the tools and strategies that are proven to help you get there over the next year. So if that's something that's important to you, if really building this business and doing that in less time and with less energy and having more fun along the way is something that is a priority to you, head to jewelrybusinessacademy.ca, book in a free call with one of my team. You literally have nothing to lose. And then we'll take it from there, and I'll see you on the other side. So let's make 2024 the best year yet. I am so excited for each and every one of you, and I'm beyond grateful to you for tuning in every single week and listening to the podcast. And I'm excited because we have some pretty epic announcements coming over the next few weeks, with some, I don't even want to spill the beans right now because I think I might just do that. So I'll just leave it at that. But we have some pretty exciting announcements. So make sure you're following me on Instagram. If you are listening to this episode, let me know. Screenshot the episode you're listening to. Tag me on Instagram. It's Robin Clark Coaching. I honestly love connecting with you on your entrepreneurial journey. And I can't wait to share our next episode with you. It's really going to help you build that momentum as we're gearing up to hit the ground running in 2020.